My husband cheated. Because I saw a thong stuffed into the crack between the car seats, trying to drive me crazy? He was overthinking it. I turned around and stuffed half of a stage 2 virus report there. The next day, that scumbag's face was torn to shreds. Chapter 1. At this moment, he was glaring furiously at me, flinging that half report hard into my face. What is this? The paper scraped across my cheek. It hurt a little. I unfolded the document and read it carefully. Stage 2 virus? My God, you rotten cucumber? Bullshit. Eric instantly flew into a rage. Is this your medical report? Why was it tucked into the passenger side car door? I looked at him with contempt. So, you caught some filthy disease and now you're trying to frame me? The scumbag narrowed his eyes slightly, and I was not backing down either. After all, being able to see the scratch marks all over his face from such a close distance had already made me restless with excitement inside. The next second, he pulled out a towel and placed it over my arm. Come on, go get checked with me. I'd like to see how you'll keep making things up once the report comes out. With that rough yank from him, a large patch of red rash on my arm was exposed. Ah! Eric suddenly flung me away and took a step back. What is that? That's disgusting. I innocently raised my arm. Sorry. I've been a little allergic recently. Eric's lips trembled. All allergic? Who are you trying to fool? Hurry up! I'm taking you to the hospital for a full systematic checkup. How could someone as conservative as you get this kind of disease? Hearing him say that, I quickly reacted. That's right. How could someone as conservative as me get this kind of disease? What exactly did you do? At this moment, Eric was also stunned. He stammered and pushed me away. Well, let's not suspect each other first. How about this? You put on some clothes first. Go to the hospital for a blood test. And once the report comes out, we'll know. My legs went weak, and I collapsed directly onto the floor. I don't care. You have to compensate me for emotional distress. I won't be able to go to work anymore. Eric irritably rubbed his temples. Get the fuck up right now. Don't make me say it a second time. I refused to get up, and he did not dare come near me, so we remained deadlocked like that, until it got dark. Finally, his phone rang. He walked toward the balcony in irritation. The soundproofing was average, and I heard everything clearly. Yes, she has a lot of rashes on her arm. What the fuck is the point of yelling at me? Can't you go get checked first? Don't worry. If it really is her, I'll definitely make her leave with nothing. I'll make her pay until she loses everything. My eyes widened. Leave with nothing? Lose everything? There was such a good thing? The next second, the balcony door opened. Eric came out with a dark expression and grabbed the car keys. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going or not? I slowly lifted my eyelids. Who were you calling just now? His eyes dodged. That has nothing to do with you. Right now, our priority is going to the hospital for a blood test. What do you mean it has nothing to do with me? Shouldn't we both explain clearly who we've had contact with recently? What about you? Who have you had contact with recently? Eric threw the question back at me. I picked up my phone. Then let's call them all together, gather them all in one place and see who the original carrier is. At this moment, Eric's expression looked as if he wanted to swallow me alive. I held the screen up in front of him. I've finished notifying them. Group message. Eric's eyes widened. You're actually this filthy. Shameless. Absolutely disgusting. I tilted my head up indifferently. What about you? Call out all those sluts of yours. Hurry up. Eric clenched his back teeth. I'm not as cheap as you. I only have one mistress. She's cleaner than you. She would never get this kind of filthy disease. After saying that, he hurriedly covered his mouth and looked at me in horror. All sound in the world vanished completely. You finally admitted it, didn't you? Chapter 2. My husband ran a small company. 5 years ago, our relationship was very good. After paying the mortgage, every bit of his income would be handed over to me. Back then, there was no distinction between us. He was responsible for paying the mortgage, and I was responsible for supporting the household. However, by chance, I discovered a secret. The fixed mortgage payment he made every month was not deducted directly as he had claimed. Instead, It was first transferred in installments to his mother, then passed around and finally remitted into Eric's loan account. At that moment, alarm bells rang in my head. Perhaps I had never truly known the man sleeping beside me. Slowly, his business fell into difficulty, and the money he brought home became less and less. Many times, he tested me, wanting me to help mortgage this house so he could use the money for business turnover. I refused. From then on, our relationship fell into crisis. A woman's sixth sense has always been very accurate. I was certain he had cheated, but I had no evidence. I had followed his car and searched through his phone. I found nothing. I knew clearly that this house, which he had bought before marriage, currently required my signature if he wanted to mortgage it. But once the mortgage was fully paid off, it would become his completely personal property. At that point, if he wanted to sell it, he would no longer need to inform me in the slightest. I did not have much time. Before he completed this golden cicada shedding its shell, I had to set up the trap. Chapter 3. Who is she? My voice was faintly trembling. Eric's eyes flickered away. Now isn't the time to talk about that. What we should do right now is go to the hospital immediately and find out exactly what caused this illness of yours. I shook off his hand and roared again. That bitch! Who the hell is she? The sight of me almost going mad made Eric subconsciously take a step back. Julia, calm down. I swear, your illness has absolutely nothing to do with us. She and I are both completely clean. Not even half a red patch on us. The only one with sores and pus is you. You can't pin this on us. I glared at him, grinding my teeth. Then should I send you two perfectly matched sluts a banner, commending you for committing adultery in such a clean and self-disciplined way? Eric's patience gradually ran out. So, are you going or not? I'm going! I shot to my feet. But I have one condition. Call that bitch along too. The three of us will confront each other face to face and see exactly which whore is rotten inside and out. Eric examined me for a few seconds, then shook his head. Forget it. Look at the crazy state you're in right now. Calm down first these next few days. We'll talk again when your head is clear. After saying that, he turned around without the slightest reluctance, opened the door, and disappeared into the hallway. I raised my eyes and looked at the clock on the wall. 8 o'clock exactly. I knew he would not come back. 5 years of feelings were unilaterally declared dead by him the moment he slammed the door and left. But I was not resigned. I had not yet exposed that pair of bastards in front of everyone. Early the next morning, a hurried knocking sounded at the door. I thought Eric had come back. But when I opened the door, what I saw was a stranger. Hello! May I ask if this apartment is the one being rented out? Rented out? I froze instantly on the spot. Yes. The agent took out his phone. Mr. Eric contacted us after 11 last night to register the property and asked us to rent it out as soon as possible. Look, here are the chat records. There was a buzzing sound in my head, and with trembling hands, I called Eric. After a long time, he finally answered. Eric, are you insane? If you rent out the house, where am I supposed to live? A cold snort came from the other end of the phone. Julia, look clearly at the property deed. This house has had only my name on it from beginning to end. If I want to rent it out, I'll rent it out. Do I need the consent of an outsider like you? Outsider? I felt all the blood in my body rush to the top of my head. You fucking bastard. I have a share in this house too. Back then, I took out the betrothal money and my dowry to help you pay off the mortgage early. Betrothal money and dowry? Eric let out a sneer on the phone. Julia, listen carefully. You are now suffering from a contagious filthy disease that already constitutes fraud, so I have the right to recover the betrothal money. As for your dowry, since it has already been used for our joint life after marriage, it is marital property. Now, because your fault has led to the divorce, not only do I not need to give you a single cent, I can also claim emotional damages from you. If you know what's good for you, pack your things and get out on your own. Don't dirty my place. After saying that, he gave me no chance to refute him and hung up directly. I slumped onto the floor, trembling all over. Over 5 years, I had helped Eric pay off more than $600,000 in mortgage payments. Little by little, that included not only the betrothal money and dowry, but also 5 years of monthly payments. But this house was his premarital property. Now that housing prices had fallen, The principal I had invested had already gone negative. He chose this critical moment to lay his cards on the table because he was certain that I had no power to fight back. Very quickly, the red rash on my arms began flaring up again. It itched terribly. I scratched a few times without thinking and broke the skin. Both arms were instantly covered in blood. The young agent's eyes froze completely. "Ma'am, what is that on your body?" I waved my hand indifferently. "Don't be afraid. It won't kill anyone. By the way, how much does he want to rent this apartment for?" The young man instinctively took a step back. "Well, I'll discuss it with him again when you have time. Please tidy up the place first. Otherwise, it definitely won't rent for a high price." After saying that, he quickly moved to the front door and ran off in a flash. I glanced at the time. 9 o'clock exactly. If Eric had become suspicious, then at this moment, he must be taking that woman to the hospital for a checkup. This was the only chance to reveal that bitch's identity. I rushed into the nearest hospital and searched around the entrance of the infectious diseases department several times, sweeping my gaze over every bench. Unfortunately, there was no sign of Eric. Unwilling to give up, I took out my phone, searched for the most authoritative infectious disease hospital in the city, and hailed another taxi. Half an hour later, at the end of the long line by the payment window, one figure made my blood run backward. It was Eric. He was standing sideways, protectively shielding a woman wearing a black baseball cap and a mask. I raised my phone and quickly pressed the record button. In 2 steps, I went forward and abruptly pulled off the woman's mask. Ah, there was a scream. The woman frantically covered her face with her hands. Eric shoved me away. "Julia, what are you doing?" The all-too-familiar face before me made my blood freeze in an instant. "Lily. It's actually you?" Chapter 4. The world went quiet. I saw Eric take off his jacket and wrap Lily's head up tightly with it. Their lips were moving, but I could not hear any sound. After a long while, I finally came back to myself. I raised my trembling hand. "How did the two of you end up hooking up?" "Lily, didn't you tell me that Eric was dead trash who could last 3 minutes at most, and that I should hurry up and divorce him?" Then I turned to Eric. "And you, back when you watched Lily twisting around on her live stream, didn't you say she looked exactly like a streetwalker from a nightclub who could be taken away for 200 yuan? "Shut up." "Bullshit. I never said that." Looking at their distorted faces, I could no longer hold back. I grabbed that bitch by the hair and began tearing at her. "Are all the men in the world dead? You just had to steal your best friend's husband? And after getting a filthy disease, you still wanted to pin it on me?" Gradually, people gathered around to watch the spectacle. Lily fell to the ground. I didn't. "Stop slandering me. The one with a filthy disease right now is you. Look at your arms. Look at your face." The next second, everyone's whispers instantly focused on me again. "Oh my God. Look at her arms. Stay away. That's a typical symptom of stage 2 virus." Eric seized the chance to drag me up and roughly shove me into the blood-drawing room. "Hurry up and get your blood drawn. I don't have time to accompany a rotten person like you while you embarrass yourself here." I held my bleeding arms and looked coldly at that man and woman. "Lily, not only did you steal my husband, but you even shamelessly stuffed a thong into my car? How cheap can you be?" "Bullshit. I have no idea what you're talking about. That thong isn't mine." The surrounding discussions grew even louder. "The legal wife is tearing into the mistress. It must be the man who fooled around and caught the disease." Eric's face turned ashen, and he shielded Lily behind him. "Shut your filthy mouths. My family affairs are not for outsiders to point fingers at." Very soon, the nurse called Eric's name. The two of them sat down one after another and had their blood drawn. Eric looked at me coldly. "Your turn." I leisurely pulled my sleeves back into place. "Sorry. I don't need to be checked." The veins on Eric's forehead bulged. "What do you mean?" "I mean, my body, my choice. It's my freedom not to have my blood drawn. If you don't accept it." I turned and walked out. Go sue me. Chapter 5. The next day, a same city express delivery was sent directly to my workstation. After opening it, I found a divorce agreement inside. Spouse, Julia, due to improper conduct in life and contracting a contagious disease, is the at-fault party in the marriage, and therefore may only take her suitcase. Heh. So what if it was a contagious disease? Did he dare look down on infectious diseases? I picked up my phone and adjusted the angle. Then, in front of the camera, I tore that sheet of paper into pieces, line by line. I sent the video to Eric. Husband, I've read the agreement, but I'm not sick. I'm perfectly healthy, so I can't sign this. And I don't agree to the divorce either. Trying to make me leave with nothing? What a pipe dream. Half an hour later, Eric's mother stormed into the elevator with murderous fury. She stood directly at the door and began cursing loudly. Julia, you black-hearted, rotten-livered filthy thing. You caught a filthy disease outside and still want to drag my son down with you? You even dare tear up the divorce agreement? Did your parents teach you to chop off your shame and carry it around in your pocket? The eyes of the entire office instantly focused on us. I slowly stood up. Auntie, you know this is defamation, right? The ones who got tested for M-virus were clearly your son and Lily. What does it have to do with me? The old woman immediately put her hands on her hips and sneered. I'm old. I don't know what defamation is. If you sign the agreement right now, I can still leave you some dignity. But if you keep making trouble, I'll print this out and promote it at the entrance of your company. I'd like to see which company would still dare to employ a rotten person covered in M-virus. Huh? M-virus? All my colleagues were stunned. Very soon, the department leader rushed over after hearing the news. Julia, I shouldn't interfere with your family affairs, but now that this has blown up at the company, the impact is very bad. How about you take some time off first and handle your personal problems? The old woman instantly found her backbone and began spitting everywhere as she fabricated my history of promiscuity in front of everyone, and I merely aimed my phone camera at her in silence and pressed the record button. I even listened with a little fascination. The wanton woman in her mouth was far more exciting than a novel. It was not until she fabricated that I had an affair with the security guard in our residential compound that I pressed the stop button. The material was enough. I calmly packed up my things and slipped away quietly through the back door. As soon as I returned home, I discovered that my fingerprint had become invalid data. The lock cylinder had also been changed. After I called Eric, he hung up directly. I quickly opened the real estate app. Sure enough, he had listed the house for rent at $3,000. Very soon, my family group chat exploded. Eric threw out the half report I had left in the car back then, although there was no name on it. The age and gender matched me perfectly. Stage 2 M-virus. Uncle, Auntie, your good daughter caught this kind of filthy disease outside. I originally didn't want to make this matter big, but she has truly disappointed me too much. When you have time, please persuade her. Since we were husband and wife after all, we should at least leave each other some dignity. My phone vibrated crazily, and Mom's incoming call flashed on the screen. I could imagine just how earth-shattering this was for my parents on the other end of the phone. I answered the call and tried hard to soothe them. Mom, Dad, don't worry. Wait a little longer. I will definitely give you an answer that satisfies you. From this moment on, the identities of hunter and prey officially switched. Chapter 6. The next afternoon, my phone vibrated, and Eric's medical report popped up on the screen. Julia, what else do you have to say? It's written clearly in black and white. My body is perfectly fine, so your filthy disease has nothing to do with me. Hurry up and sign the divorce papers. My fingertip slid lightly over the screen and enlarged the image. M-virus negative, AIDS negative, hepatitis A and hepatitis B negative, mycoplasma negative. To prove that there was nothing wrong with his body, he had even sent over his workplace physical examination report as well. Every single item showed that this person was ridiculously healthy. My fingers tapped quickly across the screen. Where's that bitch's report? Send it over too. Almost instantly, another image popped up. It was also full of negative indicators. Julia, I don't have time to act with you anymore. Sign it, and we can part peacefully. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting nasty. Looking at these two reports, I took a deep breath. Husband, seeing that both you and she are fine, I feel relieved. Now I've lost my job, and my parents think I'm a disgrace and want to cut ties with me. In that case, I only have you left. Don't worry, paying for just one person's treatment won't be much pressure. I screenshotted a legal provision I had prepared long ago and quickly sent it over. It was a clear rule about the mutual support obligations between spouses. Debts incurred for treating illness are considered joint marital debts. Immediately afterward, I sent a second screenshot. It was the loan contract I had just successfully applied for. There was a moment of silence from the screen. Then came hundreds of words of abuse. Absolutely shameless. If I give you even 1 cent, I'm a dog. Looking at his furious, helpless appearance, I let out a long breath of stale air. Sorry, but this really isn't up to you. After all, we're husband and wife. I had never asked him to get checked in order to prove that he was sick. On the contrary, it was precisely to prove that he was not sick, healthy, with full capacity to work and a source of income. That way, my lawful husband would have to bear my medical expenses. After all, during these years of suspecting him of cheating, my constant irritability, my sleepless nights, the handfuls of hair that fell out, someone had to pay for all this physical collapse, right? Chapter 7. Very soon, I sent him countless payment receipts for various psychological treatments to prove that I really did need money. During this period, all my illnesses erupted at once. Under my relentless bombardment, he finally lost his temper. If you want me to pay for your treatment, fine, give me the M-virus test report. Otherwise, I won't pay a single cent. I quickly replied, what M-virus? You misunderstood. It's just a skin infection caused by an allergy. 200,000. You know that account of mine, right? The repayment date is here. The next second, the exclamation mark lit up. He finally blocked me. Young people these days really have terrible patience. They block people at the drop of a hat. Did he think that after blocking me, he would no longer have to fulfill his duties as a husband? Since I could not find Eric, I could only go to Lily's home. She was quite a flashy girl. She earned a decent amount every day by doing suggestive live streams too. So how did she suddenly suggestively stream her way into my husband's bed? So, downstairs, I turned on a loudspeaker. MS. Lily of Building 28, Unit 3, Room 601. Please respond if you hear this broadcast. I've washed the thong you accidentally left in my husband's car. Would you like to come down and pick it up? Or should I bring it upstairs to you? Also, that syphilis you went to get checked for last time made him very anxious. As his wife, I'd like to ask on his behalf whether I can borrow your report. That way, we can go treat the disease together. Until the property management people came to chase me away, she still did not show her face. This woman really could keep her composure. Then I could only go to her live stream at night. At exactly 8 o'clock, Eric's legal wife logged on right on time. First, I sent her the cheapest little gift. When she saw my name, her expression stiffened for an instant. As a master of rapid typing, I immediately began attacking. Miss Lily, is the lipstick you're using in this live stream the same one that rubbed onto my husband's collar? The shade suits you quite well. A trace of unnaturalness flashed across her face. This friend must be joking, right? I don't know you. Please don't stir up trouble in my live stream. I pretended to be surprised. How could you not know me? Building 28, Unit 3, Room 601. Do I need to post the photo of that black lace thong you left in my husband's car and share it with the sisters here? At this point, some fans began attacking me. Where did this lunatic come from? Do you have evidence? If you don't, why are you running your mouth here? Evidence? Let her connect on mic. I'll show all of you the video of her and my husband going fully armed to get checked for sexually transmitted diseases. Who wants to see it? 10 yuan per photo. Also, there's her test report. I'll sell it for 1 yuan. Finally, a black lace thong, worn by blogger Vivi herself. Only one available. 250 yuan. Shipping included. Seeing that Lily's lips were trembling violently, she directly cut the power. She went offline. A mistress with that little self-control? Very soon, I received a message from her. That thing was a trap you set, wasn't it? I curved my lips slightly. Looks like you're not stupid either. So how did you end up becoming someone's mistress? We were so close. If you wanted it, you could have just said so. I'd have washed it clean and sent it to your bed. Why did you have to steal it? The top of the chat box repeatedly showed, typing. After a long time, her message finally popped up. You, when did you know? My nose stung and swelled with bitterness again. The feeling of being stabbed in the back by two intimate people at the same time was impossible to describe. I had indeed sensed it long ago. Every time I mentioned Lily, Eric would always stiffly change the topic. And whenever I talked to Lily about Eric, she never continued the conversation either, her eyes avoiding mine. This kind of tacit indifference, between a best friend and a husband, was itself the most abnormal signal. They were cautious enough. The car had been cleaned without leaving any trace, not even a single strand of hair or a hint of bodily scent. No matter how openly or secretly I tested them, they never took the bait, except for the half-M virus report that I had placed there with my own hands. I did not answer her question. Instead, I asked her directly, "Why did you knowingly become the other woman?" She replied very quickly, with a hint of mockery, "We met Eric at the same time. But he chose you. It was only because your birth chart was good and could bring prosperity to your husband. Why? What you can do, I can do too." My fingers trembled slightly. Sure enough, there really were people in this world who treated shamelessness as glory. "Since you're willing to sleep with him, then I have nothing else to say. From now on, you can have the scumbag's body, and I'll take the money. The three of us living well like this is better than anything." After a long silence, the other side replied, "Don't get too smug. It won't be long before you're kicked out with nothing." Whatever. Before I get kicked out with nothing, I'll help him squander the family fortune. Anyone can benefit from it except you, bitch. After saying that, I took a few photos of hospital payment receipts and sent them to her. As long as he and I are husband and wife for even one more day, he has to bear all my medical expenses. You've slept with him for free for so long, and yet you still have to do suggestive live streams every day, don't you? What exactly are you so proud of? Lily was furious. Chapter 8. She kept deleting and editing. In the end, she did not send a single word. Why did I not go straight after Eric? Because we were not divorced yet. I was still counting on using his money to treat my illness. But Lily had stolen my man, destroyed my family, and still wanted to stay clean and keep making money off her innocent girl persona? There was no such cheap deal in this world. So, I waited to watch them turn on each other. Very soon, the debt collection calls came. The loan was overdue. Unfortunately, on the day my loan was approved, the only people left in my contacts were Eric, Lily, and his family. Next, every single one of them received my debt collection calls. Eric's family group chat exploded overnight. What's going on? Why did the call come to me? How much money does she owe? I got a call too. Eric, what's going on with you and Julia? I did not say a word and directly sent the video of Eric and Lily lining up outside the infectious disease department. The next second, Eric kicked me out of the group. A few days later, I finally received notice from the court. Cause of action: improper conduct after marriage. Major fault, resulting in the complete breakdown of the marital relationship. He demanded a divorce and compensation for emotional damages. When I received the complaint, I let out a long breath of foul air. God knew how long I had waited for this day. He really could endure. On the day of mediation, I did not waste many words and directly threw out my credit card spending records from this period. You want a divorce? Fine. Principal and interest together. 1 million. The money I put into the house, plus the treatment costs for my illnesses. Not 1 cent less. Or don't even think about this divorce. The scumbag's eyes nearly split with rage. Julia, dream on. Naturally, mediation broke down. Several months later, we still ultimately faced each other in court. Eric's lawyer attacked first. Your Honor, the defendant has presented typical syphilis symptoms, and related treatment medication was found at home. Yet she has consistently refused examination. Therefore, the marital relationship has already broken down. Please grant the divorce and order compensation for my client's emotional damages. The judge looked at me. Defendant, do you have any evidence to provide? I shook my head. Your Honor, although I am sick, in our marriage vows, we promised that whether in sickness or in health, in poverty or in wealth, we should support each other. I turned to Eric. Sex does not represent the entirety of marriage. Therefore, I do not mind what happened between you and Lily at all. So please do not mind my illness either. From now on, you will be responsible for my medical expenses. and I will be responsible for maintaining the completeness of this family. What do you think? Absurd. The opposing lawyer suddenly stood up, as if he had seized a tremendous piece of evidence. Your Honor, you heard that. The defendant personally admitted that she has syphilis. A woman like this, disloyal to the marriage and indecent in her private life, is a tumor of society and must be severely punished by the law. I raised my eyebrows slightly. As a lawyer, isn't it too careless to equate illness with indecency? Eric could not wait to cut in. Judge, there is proof in her phone through the group messages she sent. That is evidence. I sighed. At the time, I was too angry after finding out that he cheated, and because I had accumulated a huge debt from treatment, I spoke nonsense. It cannot be taken seriously. The opposing lawyer raised his hand again. Your Honor, the defendant has personally admitted both her condition and the huge debt she incurred because of that condition. My client has no obligation to bear it. I quickly took out another document. This is my premarital physical examination report. It is enough to prove that before marriage, I was healthy and had a clean history. Over the past 6 months, my husband knew that I was seriously ill. Yet not only did he fail to accompany me, he even encouraged his family to publicly disclose my illness at my company and in my family group chat, causing me to be forced to resign. Because of this, I lost the ability to support myself. Second, without my consent, he privately changed the lock on the home we lived in together, drove me out, and maliciously rented out the house. Therefore, he also needs to bear the 20,000 yuan I spent on rent over the past 6 months. After the opposing lawyer lowered his head and whispered a few words to Eric, he raised his hand. Your Honor, the defendant claims these debts were used for treatment. Please have her produce the detailed transaction records for all medical expenses, treatment records, and prescription receipts. Otherwise, this is extortion under the pretense of illness. I nodded and pulled out the treatment lists from the past few months from my bag. 1. Chronic urticaria, recurrent systemic outbreaks, anti-IG biologic injection course, cost 80,000 yuan. 2. Severe sleep disorder and anxiety state, requiring long-term psychological counseling, medication, and inpatient recuperation, current cost 80,000 yuan. 3. Minimally invasive removal of breast nodules, specialized treatment and aftercare, cost 30,000 yuan. Total 190,000 yuan. When Eric saw that stack of lists, he was completely stunned. It turned out that making him prove he was healthy was the only way for me to break the deadlock. Medical debts between spouses are the easiest to sink into a quagmire of proof. If I directly admitted my own illness, he would inevitably refuse to pay for all kinds of reasons, dragging us into a long tug-of-war. So I could only do the opposite. I used syphilis as the entry point and forced him to prove his own innocence. Chapter 9. Absurd. What kind of illness costs 190,000? These transactions are absolutely fake. I don't accept them. I demand an investigation. That was exactly what I had been waiting for. Then let's apply together. What I want investigated is very simple, all tipping records on the Douyin and RedNote platforms under the real name authentication of Eric. ID number, from the beginning of the marriage until now, as well as all amounts sent through private messages via red packets and transfers, along with any flirtatious messages. Under normal circumstances, one party's application would often be rejected due to insufficient relevance. But if both parties applied at the same time, it meant that approving the investigation order would no longer favor either side. To achieve the principle of equality, approval would almost certainly be granted. Eric instantly fell speechless and froze on the spot. I lifted my eyebrows. So what if I did not know the account information? So what if I could not find the transfer records? I only needed to seize this one direction. The accounts he used publicly would certainly show nothing abnormal. There was no need to do anything unnecessary. As expected, the court approved my investigation application. I readily submitted all of my own bank accounts. Eric panicked. After the hearing ended, his lawyer called me, Ms. Julia. Mr. Eric admits that he was somewhat impulsive before. He is willing to pay your 190,000 yuan in medical expenses so that both parties can part peacefully and settle the matter here. What do you think? It was as if I had heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. Oh, when he cheated, defamed me, and transferred assets, that was not merely impulsive. Tell Eric that aside from my medical expenses and principal, I want every single cent of marital property he spent on Lily returned to me in full. Very soon, I obtained the complete record of his platform transactions. Pandora's box was opened when the black and white data was laid out one by one before my eyes. Everything went dark for a moment. Their affair had begun 3 years ago, on the night of our second wedding anniversary. Over 3 years, the transaction flow had actually reached more than 2 million yuan. In addition to dense tipping records with amounts that grew larger and larger, there were also countless red packets of 1,314 and 521 yuan. Besides Lily, he had spread his favors evenly. He had tipped many suggestive live streamers to varying degrees. No wonder his phone had been as clean as a blank sheet of paper. No wonder I had not been able to find any flirtatious messages on WeChat. It was not because he cared about this family. It was because they had already transferred their battlefield to another platform. The account he used for tipping was linked to a bank card I had never heard of. That was why he had been so arrogant and self-important. I checked each record one by one. That weekend afternoon when he had said he was under too much work pressure and wanted to be alone quietly, he had sent Lily a rocket worth 5,000 yuan. When my father was hospitalized, while he was saying he had no money, he spent the entire day as the top spender in Lily's livestream room. Over 3 years, beneath the foundation of our marriage, he had dug a tunnel leading to another woman. I closed the file, took a deep breath, and forced my tears back hard. It was time to take back everything that belonged to me, principal and interest included. Chapter 10. Eric's lawyer called again, asking for a settlement. Ms. Julia. Mr. Eric admits to all the facts. He is willing to unconditionally return your 600,000 yuan in premarital property and cover the 190,000 yuan in medical expenses. As for that 1 million yuan in tips, considering all the years of affection between you, could both sides each take a step back? I rubbed my swollen temples. Sorry, there is no affection between us. Only settlement of accounts. My conditions are: the 2 million yuan in tips must be recovered in full. The 190,000 yuan in medical expenses and 20,000 yuan in rent must be paid in full. The 500,000 yuan in principal and mortgage payments must be fully returned, not 1 cent less. Or I will continue the lawsuit to the end. And I will also add a claim for emotional damages. Eric went mad. I don't have money, even if you force me to die. It's useless. That was fine. Lily had money. In the second lawsuit, Lily was summoned to court as a co-defendant. In court, she defended herself pitifully. Your Honor, I did receive tips, but the platform takes half as commission. Only 500,000 yuan ended up in my hands. How could I have 1 million yuan to return to her? Eric lowered his head at the side and said nothing. I raised my hand directly. Objection. How you divided the money internally and how much the platform took are matters between you. They have nothing to do with me. The victim, Miss Lily. If you feel wronged, you can sue Eric and demand that he compensate you for your 500,000 yuan loss. But not a single cent of my money can be missing. The court agreed to our divorce petition because Eric had committed major faults during the marriage, including infidelity and malicious transfer of assets. He could only divide 20% of the property. However, facing the enormous debt, Eric's only way out was to sell the house. But the property market was sluggish, and his house simply could not be sold. The price could only be lowered again and again. At this critical moment, Lily actually disappeared completely, so I could only transfer this debt onto Eric. In the end, the court accepted my application. This meant that, apart from repaying my debt, he also had to repay the 1 million yuan on Lily's behalf, as well as the 200,000 yuan in tips given to others. Only then did he understand that the tender refuge he had secretly loved for 3 years would run faster than a dog when disaster truly arrived. Even more unexpectedly, Eric also soon disappeared. Even after enforcement proceedings began, no information about him could be found. After the dust settled, I received a phone call. Are you Eric's family member? Eric has been criminally detained for intentional assault. He is currently refusing to provide any information and only gave us your contact details. My heart jolted. Intentional assault? Very soon, I arrived at the place where he was being held. The man before me had been shaved bald, and his brows and eyes were full of defeat. I slowly picked up the phone. He almost threw himself forward. his voice hoarse. Julia! I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. It was all that bitch Lily who deceived me. She seduced me, spent all my money, and now she's made me go to prison. Help me find the best lawyer. We'll remarry. From now on, I'll give you all the money I earn. I swear I'll never be possessed by foolish desire again. Chapter 11. I calmly listened to his confession, without the slightest ripple on my face. Eric, I didn't come to save you. I came to tell you that your house has already been auctioned off by the court. All debts have been divided and settled. We are even now. The look in his eyes turned from expectation to despair. Julia! Are you really this heartless? Seeing me fall to this point, are you satisfied? I looked at him and slowly stood up. You fell to this point because of your own greed and selfishness. You can't blame anyone else. From now on, you are you, and I am me. After saying that, I did not look at him again. I hung up the phone directly, turned around, and left. As for Lily, later, I heard from the case officers that she was indeed badly injured. Her nasal bone was fractured, and her face was left scarred. Her live streaming career was completely ruined. From her hospital bed, she filed another lawsuit against Eric, who was serving his sentence. She demanded compensation for her medical expenses, cosmetic surgery fees, and emotional damages. Eric's house had a market value of 3.5 million yuan, but because it had to be auctioned off urgently, after deducting the bank loan, litigation fees, and auction commission, the final amount received was less than 2.5 million yuan, and after his mother learned that her son had gone to prison and lost all his property, fury and anxiety attacked her heart. She suddenly suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and fainted on the spot. His relatives, eyes red with desperation, fought Lily over this life-saving money. The two sides got into a huge fight. In the end, Eric's mother died in the ICU, and what Lily actually obtained was only a number with very little left. The smell of disinfectant in hospitals can always perfectly cover up every unbearable secret. I stood at the door of the ward and saw Lily lying on the hospital bed. Her face was wrapped in layer after layer of gauze, with streaks of blood seeping out from inside. I pushed the door open and walked in. When she saw clearly that it was me, her body suddenly stiffened. Julia, are you here to laugh at me? Her voice was hoarse, like an old broken bellows. Laugh? My gaze fell calmly on her face. Your joke began the day you chose to climb into Eric's bed. She struggled to sit up. I became like this because of you. If you hadn't forced him into a dead end, how could he have gone crazy and come beat me? I smiled softly. Lily, my life turns a new page starting today. And what did you get? A discounted compensation payment, a face that will need lifelong repairs, a man rotting in prison, and the brand of mistress that you will never be able to shake off. I picked up my bag and walked toward the door. The account between us is settled. From now on, I will travel around the world and see every landscape you once dreamed of. After saying that, I pulled open the door and walked straight out. Behind me came her hysterical wails. Later, Eric received news in prison that his mother had died of illness, and he committed suicide. He lost his marriage, his lover, his freedom, and in the end, he also lost his mother. I picked up a pen and planned the route for my next trip on my schedule. The hunter's journey is to the stars and the sea, and the prey has been nailed forever to the pillar of shame.